Have you ever noticed how the loudest people aren't always the most successful? What if the real power lies in silence, focus, and letting your results do the talking? Today we're diving deep into why never telling people what you do can be your biggest secret to success. If you want to stop wasting energy explaining your dreams, avoid distractions, and build unstoppable discipline, this video is for you. Discover how focusing quietly behind the scenes can lead to winning loudly in public. Whether you're tired of the noise, fed up with doubters, or just ready to level up your life, these simple but powerful truths will change the way you approach your goals forever. Stick around, because what you don't say might. Number 1. Silence gives you power others can't touch. You know what gives you strength that nobody can mess with? Silence. When you keep your goals, your progress, your struggles to yourself, you unlock a level of focus and energy that can't be shaken by anyone. It's not about hiding. It's about protecting. It's about building in a way that's clean, strong, and distraction-free. Silence isn't weakness. It's power. And it's the kind of power that lives deep inside you, where no opinions can reach, no judgment can shake, and no outside noise can touch. Silence keeps your energy in the right place. You wake up in the morning and you have a clear goal. You're not scrolling. You're not replying. You're not posting your plans or trying to impress anyone with your routine. You just get up and move with intention. That's rare, because most people need to be seen. They need applause. They need someone to tell them you're doing great before they even take the first real step. But not you. When you commit to silence, your focus sharpens. You're not wasting energy explaining yourself. You're using that energy to execute. You're not trying to look motivated. You are motivated. You're not seeking validation. You're building results. That's power. And it's the kind that doesn't wear out when the attention fades. Silence protects you from doubt. Every time you tell someone what you're planning, you open the door to their doubts, their fears, their projections. They might not mean to harm you, but they do. Oh, that's risky. Are you sure you want to do that? What if it doesn't work out? And just like that, your clean focus is now tangled up in their uncertainty. But when you stay silent, there's no room for that. There's no conversation. There's no need to convince. It's just you and your plan. You trust yourself. You act. You adjust. You move forward. And that confidence builds step by step, because no one's in your ear telling you what's possible. You decide that. Silence removes pressure. When you make your goals public before they're ready, you give people expectations. They start watching. They ask questions. They want updates. They joke when you're not where they think you should be. Suddenly, it's not about your growth. It's about their approval. That's not the life you want. You didn't start your journey to perform for people. You started it to change, to build, to evolve. And real growth doesn't always look impressive in the beginning. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's invisible. That's why silence matters. Because it gives you room to grow in peace, without the weight of anyone else's expectations sitting on your shoulders. Silence keeps your mind clear. You don't realize how much mental clutter comes from just talking too much about what you're doing. Then you think about how they responded. Then you think about what they might think later. Then you start questioning whether your plan sounds smart enough or big enough. Now you're exhausted, and you haven't done anything yet. Silence removes that entire cycle. You get an idea. You write it down. You act on it. No back and forth. No overthinking. You stay locked in. You stay clear. And that kind of mental clarity, That's where breakthroughs happen. When you're not being pulled in 100 directions, you can actually finish what you start. Silence builds self-trust. When you keep things to yourself, you build a stronger relationship with yourself. You stop needing someone else to believe in you. You start learning how to believe in yourself. You stop chasing praise. You start chasing progress. You stop asking for permission. You start giving yourself direction. And the more you follow through in silence, the more solid your confidence becomes. You look in the mirror and you know you've been showing up. You've been doing the work. Not for show, not for likes, but because it matters to you. That's real power. That's the kind of strength people feel when you walk into a room, even if they don't know why. Silence gives you space to grow without pressure. Growth is uncomfortable. There are moments when you fail, when you question, when you need to adjust everything. You don't need an audience for that. You need space. When you keep your path private, you can fall and get back up without feeling embarrassed. You can change your mind without looking inconsistent. You can switch gears without having to explain yourself. That freedom helps you evolve. It helps you find what works, not just what looks good. And it gives you the strength to be honest about what's not working, without worrying about how it looks from the outside. That honesty is what leads to real progress. And it only comes when you're not performing for anyone but yourself. Silence makes your results speak for themselves. Eventually your silence pays off. Your health improves. Your money stacks. Your mind gets sharper. Your relationships get deeper. People start noticing. They start asking questions. Hey, what have you been doing? You've changed. I can feel it. And that's when you know all the quiet work, all the unnoticed hours, all the focus it added up. You didn't need to convince them. You didn't need to prove anything. You just worked. And now your results are louder than any words could ever be. That's winning in public. After focusing in silence, you don't need noise to grow. You need discipline. You grow the most when you stop seeking attention and start building discipline. Discipline doesn't need a crowd. Discipline doesn't need praise. It just needs a reason. And if you've got a real reason to grow, to improve, to change, then stay quiet and do the work. No announcement needed. Just action. Daily. Privately. Consistently. Final words from Audiobook Wisdom, calm but direct. There is a quiet strength in the person who knows where they're going and doesn't feel the need to explain it. Be that person. Keep your goals to yourself. Keep your discipline strong. Keep your energy focused. And let your life become the proof. They won't see it coming, but when it shows up, when your results start speaking, they'll know exactly who you are. Number 2. The more you talk, the less you do. You've probably heard people say what they're going to do. They say it loud. They say it often. But when you check in months later, nothing's been done. The plan is still a plan. The goal is still a dream. The action, missing. Talking doesn't build results. Doing does. And what most people don't realize is, the more they talk about what they're going to do, the less they actually do it. This is Audiobook Wisdom. I'm here to tell you something real. If you want to succeed, you've got to stop announcing everything and start moving. Quietly. Consistently. With focus. Talking gives the illusion of progress. When you talk about a big goal, your brain gets a hit of excitement. You say it out loud. You explain it. You feel proud, like you've already taken a big step, but nothing has really changed. You've told 5 people that you're going to start a business. You've posted on social media that you're about to make a big change. You've had deep talks about your future. But have you sat down and made a real plan? Have you sacrificed comfort to take action? Have you stayed up late or woken up early to work on it? Talking can trick you. It can make you feel like you're doing something meaningful, when in truth, you're avoiding the hard part, execution. And that illusion, it's dangerous. Because while you're busy impressing people with your ideas, someone else is out there building in silence. Words don't build muscle. Reps do. You don't get stronger by talking about going to the gym. You get stronger by showing up and lifting. Same with life. You can't just speak success into existence. You need daily discipline. You need effort when it's boring. You need to keep going when no one's cheering for you. Every time you talk instead of act, you're skipping a rep. You're giving energy to image instead of progress. And that adds up. Success isn't built on talk. It's built on hours of unseen work. It's built on actions no one ever hears about. That's where the real strength is. Talking too much invites pressure that can paralyze. When you speak too soon, people start watching. They expect things. They wait for you to deliver. Now, instead of focusing on your path, you're focused on performance. You start wondering what people will think if you fail. You start adjusting your actions to protect your image. And that pressure, it doesn't help you grow. It slows you down. You hesitate. You second guess. You delay. All because you spoke too soon, and now there's a crowd you're trying not to disappoint. But when you keep it to yourself, you're free to move at your own pace. No stage, no performance, just pure focused progress. People remember results, not words. Do you respect them because of what they said they were going to do, or because of what they actually did? People remember what you build, not what you talk about. They don't care how many times you said you were going to change your life. They care about the moment you did it. When you're serious, you don't need to announce it. You show it, through how you move, through the things you finish, through the way you carry yourself, even when nobody's watching. That's what leaves an impression. That's what speaks louder than words ever could. Constant talk kills momentum. Every time you stop to explain, defend, or describe your goals, you slow down. Your mind gets pulled away from action and into conversation. You start thinking about how it sounds instead of how it works. Progress requires rhythm. It needs flow. You need to be in motion. Talking breaks that rhythm. It makes you pause. It forces you to shift gears. And after enough stops, you lose that sense of forward movement. You go from a builder to a talker, from someone making progress to someone making noise. That's not who you want to be. When you're always talking, people stop listening. If every week you're announcing a new goal, a new plan, a new mission, people stop taking you seriously. They hear your words, but they don't believe in them anymore, because they've seen it too many times before. Words with no action. And over time, even you stop believing in yourself. You start to feel like a fraud. You hear your own voice talking about big plans, and it rings hollow, because deep down you know the truth. That's a hard feeling to live with. And the only way to fix it is to stop talking and start doing. Let your next move be something that doesn't need a speech. Let your next result be so solid that no one even questions it. Talking too much drains energy that could have gone into action. Every post, every conversation, every explanation takes energy. You only get so much energy each day. Where are you spending it? If you're spending it all explaining your dream, there's not much left to build it. Talking burns calories you could have used to push forward. And when the day ends, you're exhausted, but nothing moved. The most productive people protect their energy. They stay quiet. They don't need to talk about it because they're too busy doing it. And that difference is what separates those who grow from those who just talk about growth. Silence helps you stay humble and focused. When you're constantly talking about your goals, it's easy to get caught up in how they sound. You want them to sound impressive. You want people to be inspired. But that's ego talking. Real growth needs humility. It needs quiet. It needs space to breathe, struggle, and evolve without the spotlight. Silence brings you back to center. It reminds you that the goal isn't to sound good, it's to get better. It keeps you grounded in the work, not the reaction. And the more grounded you are, the more focused you stay. And that focus, it multiplies results faster than any speech ever could. Do it first. Talk about it later. You don't need to explain your plans. Just show up. Do the work. Let your life speak for itself. When you've built something real, when your health improves, your finances grow, your mindset sharpens, people will notice. They'll ask you what changed. They'll wonder how you did it. And that's when you can share. Not as a talker, but as a finisher. As someone who did it first, then spoke from experience. That's what people respect. That's what makes your words matter. Closing words, spoken with clarity and strength. You don't need to keep telling the world what you're going to do. You need to do it. In silence, with focus, with patience. Number 3. Private growth is real growth. Some of the most important changes you'll ever go through in life won't be seen by anyone else. You won't post about them. You won't announce them. Nobody will cheer for you. And still, those changes will shape you more than anything that happens in the spotlight. This is Audiobook Wisdom. And today I want to speak about something that most people overlook: private growth, quiet growth. The kind of growth that happens behind closed doors when no one's watching. That kind of growth. It's the most real. It's not loud. It's not glamorous. But it's the foundation of everything solid, strong, and lasting. Public growth is often surface level. What people show online, what they talk about in groups, what they share with others, most of it's for show. It doesn't mean it's fake. It just means it's filtered. It's the highlight reel. It's polished. But the real transformation, that stuff happens in silence. It happens when you're up at 6 in the morning, rethinking your habits. It happens when you're walking alone after a tough decision, figuring out how to handle it better next time. It happens when you fail, and nobody sees it, but you face it, learn from it, and grow anyway. That's private growth. And it's the kind that sticks. Private growth forces honesty. When you're not performing for anyone, you don't have to fake anything. You don't have to act like you're motivated when you're not. You don't have to pretend to have a plan when you're still figuring it out. You can be real. You can admit to yourself that you messed up. You can reflect without fear. You can course correct in peace. Growth like that is painful sometimes, but it's real. You sit with yourself and ask hard questions. You take responsibility. You hold yourself accountable, not for a post, not for a conversation, but because you actually care about becoming better. That kind of honesty leads to deep, lasting change. Growth that's visible too early often dies early. When people start showing off their progress before it's solid, they fall into a trap. They get addicted to approval. They start growing for the attention instead of the purpose. And when the attention fades, so does their discipline. But when your growth stays private, you're building a strong base. No one's watching. No one's clapping. It's just you putting in the work, fixing what needs to be fixed, staying committed. By the time people finally notice, you've already built discipline, mindset, and habits that can't be broken. Your growth wasn't for show. It was for you. And because of that, it lasts. In private, you can make mistakes without shame. Everyone makes mistakes on the way up. But when you're growing privately, you have the space to fail without feeling like you've disappointed anyone. You can try something, mess it up, and quietly learn. You can backtrack, start over, and not worry about what people might think. This gives you freedom. It allows you to stay flexible. It keeps you from getting stuck, trying to protect an image. People who grow privately aren't afraid to mess up, because they know no one's keeping score. It's just them, learning, adjusting, improving. And because of that, they grow faster, deeper, and more authentically. Private growth builds real confidence. Confidence doesn't come from likes, applause, or compliments. It comes from doing the work nobody sees. When you eat clean for 3 months and don't post about it. When you study every night after work and don't tell a soul, that's real confidence. When you say no to distractions and yes to yourself, and no one even knows you're doing it, that's the kind of confidence that changes your life. It's built in the quiet, in the early mornings, in the late nights, in the small choices. And when you finally walk into a room with that confidence, people feel it, not because you said anything, but because it's real and they can sense it. Growth is sacred. Protect it. Your personal growth is your responsibility, not your followers, not your friends, not your families. You don't need to share every detail. You don't need to broadcast every milestone. You just need to protect it. Because your growth is fragile at first. It needs time to develop. It needs focus. It needs commitment, without outside judgment. When you grow privately, you give yourself space to grow fully, without the need to look a certain way, without pressure to impress, without fear of stumbling. That protection makes the difference between short-term hype and long-term transformation. In silence, you find your true self. When no one's watching, the masks come off. You stop trying to be who people expect you to be. You start discovering who you actually are. What do you want when no one's influencing you? What matters to you when there's no one to please? What kind of life do you want to build when the only voice in the room is your own? That's where real self-awareness comes from. And self-awareness leads to powerful growth. Because now, you're not chasing someone else's version of success, you're building your own. You stop comparing. You stop competing. You start building. And that shift changes everything. You'll be misunderstood, and that's okay. When you grow privately, some people won't get it. They'll say you've changed. They'll ask where you've been. They'll wonder why you don't share like you used to. But you don't owe them answers. You owe yourself progress. Some people aren't meant to understand your journey, because it's not theirs. It's yours. And the ones who matter, they'll see your results when it's time. Until then, keep your growth close. Protect your path. Stay in your lane. Final words, spoken directly, simply, and with care. The world teaches you to perform, to post every success, to prove your worth. But real growth doesn't need an audience. It just needs honesty. It needs discipline. It needs silence. So keep your journey sacred. Grow in private. Heal in private. Level up in private. And when you're ready, when your growth is strong, unshakable, and real, the world will see it. But by then, you won't care about being seen. Number 4. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Most people live their lives trying to explain everything they do. They tell their friends what their goals are. They tell family why they made certain choices. They tell strangers online what they're working on. And in the process, they start building a habit, justifying their every move. This is where they lose themselves. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you live your life. You really don't. If you wake up early to chase your goals, you don't have to explain why. If you say no to distractions or step away from people who don't help you grow, you don't need to apologize. If you're focused on improving yourself, building something meaningful and spending your time wisely, you don't need to convince others it's the right choice. Because at the end of the day, the results will speak louder than anything you say. Too many people waste energy defending their path, and most of the time, they're talking to people who don't even care. Some are just curious, some don't want you to win, and some don't believe in themselves enough to believe in you. The truth is, people will form their opinions no matter what you say. You could explain every detail of your life, every intention behind your actions, and they'll still misunderstand you, question you, or even judge you. So why give away your peace? There's real strength in not answering to everyone, not because you're arrogant, but because you're focused. People who are truly focused aren't looking to be understood. They're looking to grow. They're looking to win. They're looking to master their discipline, their habits, their mission. They don't pause to announce what they're doing. They don't pause to explain why they disappeared or why they don't hang out anymore. They just show up when the work is done, and the results are clear. It needs your example. If you're tired of being questioned, doubted, misunderstood, it might be time to stop explaining. Time to hold your vision close and trust yourself more than anyone else. There's peace in keeping things private. You start to realize you don't need approval. You don't need permission. You don't need to convince people you're on the right track. Your purpose is not up for debate. Your vision belongs to you, and not everyone will see it until it's real. And that's okay, because it's not their job to see it. It's your job to build it. Quietly, consistently, fully. Silence isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of control. When you stay quiet about your plans, you don't give anyone room to interrupt them. When you move in silence, you protect your energy. You avoid unnecessary opinions. You don't feed doubts. You stay in your lane and focus on what matters. You'll notice something else too. People respect results more than explanations. They'll never remember what you said you were going to do, but they will always notice what you did. They'll notice the changes in your life. They'll notice the progress you made. They'll notice you went from talking about your goals to actually reaching them. And when they ask how you did it, you won't need to say much, because the proof is right in front of them. If you want peace, focus and power, stop explaining yourself. You don't have to justify your goals. You don't need to prove yourself to people who don't walk your path. You don't need to defend decisions that were made for your growth, your health, your future. Your journey is yours alone, and the ones who matter will understand without you having to say a word. So go do the work. Keep building in silence. You'll speak loudest when you win. And when that time comes, your story will be heard, not because you told everyone, but because you showed everyone. That's how you earn respect. That's how you take control. 5. Focus is easier without noise. The difference between a quiet room and a loud one. The way your chest feels lighter when you step away from distractions. That sudden clarity you get when the world stops shouting at you. That's focus. That's power. And it's easier to reach when everything around you is quiet. Noise isn't just sound. It's attention-seeking. It's trying to impress people who don't even know what you're working on. It's constantly checking your phone. It's trying to explain yourself to people who aren't even listening. Noise is what keeps people average. Focus is what separates winners. When you remove the noise, your goals become clear. You stop doubting yourself because you no longer need permission or validation. And you start doing the work without the urge to show off every step. Let me tell you what most people don't realize. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, you drain a little bit of your energy. Every time you overshare, you give your drive away. Not physically, but emotionally, mentally. That's because every time you talk, you give your brain a false reward. You feel like you already achieved something, but you didn't. You only talked about it. And now your drive to follow through is weaker. This is why silence isn't about being mysterious. It's not about hiding. It's about staying grounded. When no one's watching, you don't need to perform. You don't need to impress. You just work. Quietly. Repeatedly. Consistently. That's where real growth happens. Look around. Most people don't focus. Not really. Their attention is split into pieces. They're chasing trends, responding to everyone, updating the world on what they're thinking every hour, and still confused why they can't get things done. If you want focus, you need space. You need silence. That's where things start clicking. You start noticing patterns. You start hearing your own thoughts clearly. You start connecting the dots that were always there. When you build in silence, your thoughts grow stronger. You don't rush decisions because no one's pushing you. You take your time. You make better choices. You plan your next step with purpose. And most importantly, you stop wasting energy on what doesn't matter. Here's what happens when you choose focus over noise. You become emotionally steady. You don't react to everything. You think before you move. You get things done faster. There's no debate, no explaining, just execution. You don't rely on motivation. You rely on discipline. And that's what builds winners. You don't get distracted by opinions, because no one knows what you're doing anyway. You start trusting yourself more, because the results are speaking for you. Not your words, not your posts, not your likes. Real success doesn't need applause in the middle of the process. It shows up at the finish line. The best athletes in the world, they train in silence. The best creators, they go missing for weeks and then come back with something powerful. The best entrepreneurs, they work behind the scenes and the world only sees the impact. Focus isn't exciting at first. It's not dramatic. It's not flashy, but it builds momentum. And when you've got momentum, you don't need noise. You don't need permission. You don't need to announce anything. You just move forward, quietly, strongly, relentlessly. Some people will ask where you went, why you're so quiet, why you're not around as much. They'll think something's wrong. What they don't know is that everything is finally right. Because for the first time in a long time, you're not trying to impress anyone. You're not checking in with everyone. You're not asking for advice from people who don't even walk the same path. You're focused, and it feels peaceful. And from that peace, you'll build something powerful. You'll look back and realize that the silence wasn't empty. It was full of progress, full of ideas, full of planning, fixing and sharpening your skills, full of growing stronger without telling anyone. And when it's time to show the world what you've done, you won't need to explain a thing. The results will speak, and everyone will wonder how you did it. But you'll know, you focused, you stayed quiet, you built it without noise, and now you win in public, because you work. 6. Public results speak louder than private words. You don't need to explain your goals to people. You don't need to convince anyone what you're working on. You don't have to post about every move you make. And you don't have to tell anyone where you're headed. Because when you win in public, the results speak louder than any words ever could. People respect results, not plans, not ideas, not talk. That's the truth. So many people waste their energy explaining things they haven't even done yet. They walk around trying to gain approval, trying to look impressive, trying to sound smart. But what happens? Most of them never follow through. Most don't finish what they started. And the few who do, they already stopped talking. They just worked. See, real achievers, they don't make noise. They build quietly, consistently. When you're busy grinding, building, improving, failing, adjusting and climbing, there's no time to keep talking. You're too focused. You're too locked in. And here's the most powerful part. When your results finally show up, when you've transformed your life, or built that business, or hit that fitness goal, or changed your mindset completely, people won't need an explanation. They'll see it. They'll feel it. They'll know it. You won't have to say a single word, because you'll walk differently. You'll carry yourself differently. Your whole presence will say, "I earned this," and nobody can argue with that. That's power, because results are undeniable. Nobody can fake them. You can't fake discipline. You can't fake consistency. You can't fake excellence. It either shows up in your work or it doesn't. People love to say they're building something, but only a few actually do. And when you do, you don't. Posting about your plans before they're real, that gives a false sense of accomplishment. It makes you feel like you've already done something when you haven't. You waste your energy talking instead of doing. And that's where people fall off. That's where momentum dies. The truth is, if you care more about being seen working than actually working, you're going to lose. Because showing off doesn't lead to success. Discipline does, patience does, focus does, and none of those things come from external validation. They come from what you do behind closed doors. They come from the lonely hours, the early mornings, the hard choices, the skipped parties, the tired nights, the missed fun, the invisible grind. And those things, nobody claps for them. Nobody praises you for them. You do them anyway. That's what separates winners from talkers. Winners don't need an audience. They only care about the outcome. They understand something powerful. When it's real, you don't have to shout. People will notice. The right people will feel it. You walk into a room with quiet confidence. Not because you told people what you've done, but because you did it. You lived it. You earned it. So stop announcing your moves. Stop trying to be understood too early. Most people won't get your vision anyway, and that's okay. It's not their job to understand it. It's your job to build it. And when it's built, when it's done, when you're standing tall on results that can't be ignored, that's when the world wakes up. That's when people start asking questions. What changed? How did you do that? Where did this version of you come from? And that's when your answer is simple. I worked in silence. People remember results. They forget the noise. They forget what you said years ago. They only remember what you proved. So focus on proving it. Let your work speak for you. Don't explain. Don't announce. Just build. And when it's done, let the results be loud. Because public results, they 7 number. Protect your dream from doubters. There's something special about having a dream. It's yours. It comes from inside you, built from your own thoughts, struggles, imagination, and your experiences. But the truth is, not everyone will see it the way you do, and many won't believe in it. That's why it's your job to protect it. Not everyone is going to cheer for you. In fact, some people will doubt you just because your dream is too big for their thinking. They'll see you aiming high and feel uncomfortable. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because your ambition reminds them of what they never started or what they gave up on. When that happens, you have to understand one thing: their doubt has nothing to do with your ability. It has everything to do with their limitations. You cannot let that kind of noise get inside your head. When you talk too much about what you're doing, you open the door to opinions that don't help. You give people the chance to plant fear, second-guessing, and negativity in your mind. And all of that can break your momentum if you're not careful. Now think about this. Most people mean well. They may not even realize that what they're saying is causing you harm. They may just want to be realistic with you. But your dream doesn't need their reality check. It needs your discipline, your time, your consistency, not their approval. Some people will doubt you because they've never seen someone like you do what you're doing. Others will doubt you because you're growing and they're not. That's hard for people, because if you change, it reminds them that they could too, and maybe they've avoided that for years. So what do? You go quiet, you put your head down and you work. You don't need to post every step. You don't need to explain every goal. You don't need to convince anyone why you're doing what you're doing. You just do it. You let your results speak. Because nothing shuts down doubt faster than achievement. Nothing silences. And while you're in the process, you treat your dream like something sacred. You guard it. You nurture it. You don't throw it into casual conversations. You don't share it with people who don't have the mindset to understand it. If you do, they'll tear it apart before it even has a chance to grow. They'll tell you all the reasons why it won't work. They'll remind you of every time you failed before. They'll make you feel small for wanting something bigger. But here's what you have to remember. Your dream doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. It only needs to matter to you. You're the one building it. You're the one showing up every day, doing the work no one sees. You're the one staying up late or getting up early. You're the one sacrificing comfort now for a better life later. So you don't owe explanations to anyone. You don't owe validation to anyone. You don't owe updates or check-ins to anyone. The more you stay quiet, the more you keep control of your energy. Because talking drains energy. Explaining drains focus. Defending your dream takes energy away from actually building it. And if you give your energy to all of that, you won't have much left for what really matters. That's how people lose momentum. They start off strong, but then they get distracted by feedback, comments, and the fear of what others might think. If someone doesn't believe in your dream, that's okay. You weren't building it for them anyway. You're building it for the person you're becoming, for the life you want to live, for the impact you want to make, for the peace that comes from doing something that matters to you. So protect your dream. Keep it away from the small-minded. Keep it away from the negative. Keep it away from those who gave up on their own goals. Instead, surround yourself with people who are building too. People who understand silence. People who are too focused to gossip, too disciplined to judge, too driven to waste time tearing others down. When you protect your dream, you give it the best chance to live. You give yourself the clarity and strength to keep going, even when the road gets hard. And when you finally reach that moment, when the result is real, when your dream is now your reality, then people will see. You won't have to say anything. They'll feel it. They'll notice it. And many of them will wish they had believed in you sooner. But by then, it won't matter. Because you didn't need 8 number. You build discipline in private. It's easy to post about your goals. It's easy to say what you're working on. It's even easy to talk about how motivated you are. But real discipline, that's something completely different. Discipline is not loud. It doesn't show off. It doesn't announce itself. Discipline is quiet. It's done behind closed doors. It's built when no one is watching and no one is cheering. That's where the difference is made. You build discipline in private, not in front of an audience, not on a stage, not on social media. Discipline is built in early mornings when your alarm goes off and you get up even when you don't feel like it. It's built in those nights when you want to give up, but you stay with it a little longer. No one sees that. No one claps for it. But that's the work that changes your life. People look at success and think it's about talent, connections, or luck. They miss what's really behind it. A private, invisible structure of discipline that's been built over time. Day by day, action by action, choice by choice. Discipline is a personal decision. It's between you and yourself. It's not a performance. It's not something you do when it's convenient or when it looks good. It's something you commit to when it's hard, when you're tired, and when the results haven't shown up yet. That kind of discipline, the kind built in silence, is what separates the committed from the casual. It's what separates the person who says, "I want to win," from the person who actually wins. You don't need anyone's permission to be disciplined. You don't need validation from others. All you need is the willingness to keep promises to yourself. That's it. And keeping those promises consistently builds something powerful, trust in yourself. Because once you start showing up for yourself in private, you stop relying on outside motivation. You don't need a crowd. You don't need applause. You don't need praise. You get strong on your own. That's what makes you unshakable. When the world gets loud, when distractions show up, when people doubt you, your discipline holds, because it wasn't built in the spotlight. It wasn't fragile. It was built when no one cared, and you kept going anyway. You build discipline in private, when you choose action over excuses, when you stop waiting to feel ready, when you stop looking for comfort and start choosing growth. Every small choice matters. Every time you say no to distractions, every time you follow through, even when no one is watching, you're becoming stronger. You're building a foundation that will carry you through any challenge. You can fake motivation in public. You can impress people with talk, but you can't fake discipline. You can't fake consistency. You can't fake the work that happens when no one sees it. That's why it matters more than anything. You know the truth about your life. You know what needs to change. You know when you're wasting time. You know what you've been avoiding. That honesty with yourself is where discipline begins. Building discipline in private is uncomfortable at first. It feels lonely. It feels hard. But over time, it becomes who you are. It becomes natural. You no longer have to push yourself. You become the person who does what needs to be done. That's power. Most people won't see that journey. They'll see the results and think it happened overnight. But you'll know the truth. You'll know it was built through quiet commitment, day after day, with no shortcuts, no praise, and no promises. Just effort. And when your life starts to change, when your habits get stronger, when your mindset gets sharper, when your results start showing up, that's when people will notice. That's when they'll ask how you did it. But by then, it won't even matter what they think, because you'll already be living the life you built. One disciplined step at a time. Stay focused. Stay private. Build your discipline when no one's looking. It'll carry you further than any motivation ever could. This is Audiobook Wisdom, reminding you that the most powerful habits are built in silence, and the most unstoppable version of you. 9 number. Winning in public feels better when you earned it in private. You know what most people don't talk about? The long hours nobody sees. The nights you go to bed feeling like you didn't make much progress. The mornings when you drag yourself out of bed to work on something that still feels far away. That's the private work. That's the quiet building season. That's the effort behind closed doors. And that's exactly why winning in public feels different when it's earned in private. There's a kind of pride that doesn't need words. It's not loud, it's not flashy. It's the pride you carry in your chest when you know how hard you worked. When the applause comes, when the respect shows up, when people start noticing, you don't have to fake a reaction. You don't have to over-celebrate. Because deep down, you already know what it took. You already lived it. You know the early mornings when no one else was awake. You know the skipped parties, the quiet meals, the hours of focus when the world was loud. You know how it felt to push through when motivation disappeared. And you know what it cost you: time, energy, comfort, rest. That's why it feels good. Because you didn't shortcut your way there. You didn't cheat the process. You didn't just show up for the reward. You showed up when it was thankless, when nobody believed in you, and when quitting looked easier than continuing. You see, there are two kinds of wins. One is quick and shallow. It might come from luck or from copying what others do. It might feel good for a moment, but it fades fast. It doesn't stay with you. You don't grow from it. But the other kind, the one you earn when nobody is looking, that one sticks. That one changes who you are. It deepens your confidence, sharpens your mindset, and builds a quiet kind of strength inside you. It's not about being better than someone else. It's about becoming better than you were. And here's the thing, nobody stands beside you when you say no to distractions. Nobody gives you a medal for staying consistent on days when your heart's not in it. But that's the difference. You didn't do it for recognition. You did it for growth. You did it to see what you're made of. So when the win comes, and it will come, every moment behind it becomes worth it. That public moment, the recognition, the applause, the success, it feels clean, it feels earned. You don't feel like a fraud. You don't have to pretend you worked hard, because you know you did. You lived through the quiet days of uncertainty and doubt, and you didn't stop. That's what separates real winners from those who only chase the spotlight. You don't have to brag about the effort when the results speak for themselves. You don't need to explain your story when your results reflect the work. You don't need to argue with doubters because your discipline is undeniable. It's not about showing off. It's not about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about saying, I gave it everything. I stayed in the game. I focused. I worked. That's where the real win is. And the truth is, no one can ever take that from you. Private work builds public results. The silence, the struggle, the solitude, they shape your character. They carve out a version of you that's solid, not shallow, not surface level. The process becomes your reward long before the prize shows up. If you skip the quiet work, the win won't mean anything. But if you embrace it, if you build when nobody's clapping, you'll find that public success becomes a reflection of personal growth. It feels right. It feels earned. It feels powerful. So when your time comes, and it will stand tall, not because people are watching, but because you've been through the fire. You know the cost, and you paid it, in full, in silence. 10 number. Stay humble, stay hungry, stay quiet. Humility, hunger and silence, 3 powerful forces that most people overlook. But if you can learn to balance all 3, you'll operate in a league of your own. Staying humble means you never allow your progress to blind you. Staying hungry means you never stop reaching for more. Staying quiet means you don't waste energy proving yourself. You focus that energy on building a life that speaks for itself. You don't need to announce everything you're working on. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Your consistency will speak louder than your words ever could. Stay humble. When you start making progress in life, it's easy to become arrogant, but arrogance is fragile. It's built on needing validation. Humility, on the other hand, is solid. When you stay humble, you acknowledge there's always more to learn. You know you're not above anyone else. You don't put people down to lift yourself up. You know where you came from, and you remember how hard you worked to get here. Being humble means being real with yourself. You stop comparing your life to others. You stop chasing attention, and that allows you to focus on what really matters, your purpose, your work, your inner peace. When you're humble, you become teachable, and teachable people grow. They get better, they adapt, they win without needing a crowd to clap for them. Humility isn't weakness, it's strength under control. It's knowing your worth without shouting it. It's confidence without the arrogance. That's rare, and that's why it's powerful. Stay hungry. If you want to keep growing, stay hungry. Not desperate. Hungry. That's the difference. Desperation chases validation. Hunger chases excellence. Hunger is the fire that wakes you up early and keeps you moving when others slow down. Hunger means you're always working to be better than you were yesterday. Even when things are good, you know there's still room for growth. Hunger doesn't mean you're never satisfied. It means you're never stagnant. You can be proud of how far you've come and still want more. That's not greed. That's ambition. That's drive. Hunger means you're chasing potential, not just comfort. And this hunger, when it's pure, when it's quiet, becomes discipline. You no longer need motivation every morning because the hunger is built in. You show up because that's who you are now. The hunger becomes identity. And that's where most people fall short. They work hard only when it's convenient. But if you stay hungry, you work hard even when no one's looking, even when no one's praising, because you're not doing it for claps. You're doing it because in a world obsessed with attention, silence is a power move. You don't need to post every move you make. You don't need to broadcast your grind. The loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest. Often it's the quiet one who's been focused, consistent, and patient. Staying quiet doesn't mean staying invisible. It means you let your results speak for themselves. No explanations, no justifications, just execution. Staying quiet protects your energy. It keeps you away from drama, distractions, and unnecessary comparisons. When you stay quiet, you listen more, you observe, you plan, and when it's time to act, you do it with precision. When you're always talking about your goals, you're giving away power, you're leaking energy. But when you stay quiet, you keep that power. You build momentum in silence. You train in private. You plan in the dark. And when it's time to show up, you don't need to say anything. Your progress will do the talking. The combination is rare, and that's why it works. You'll rarely find someone who's truly humble, hungry, and quiet. Most people are loud without results, comfortable without growth, or proud without awareness. That's why when you operate with humility, hunger, and silence, you stand out without trying. This combination keeps you grounded. You don't start believing your own hype. You don't chase shortcuts. You don't fold under pressure. You keep building day after day. You keep improving even when no one is watching. And that's where real self-respect is born, not from applause but from private wins that no one claps for but you. You begin to take pride in your discipline. You start to value your own opinion over strangers' validation. You don't need to prove anything anymore, because you're already living in alignment with who you say you are. You don't need to be loud to win. Real success doesn't need to announce itself. It just shows up. It lives in your habits. It's reflected in your mindset. It's embedded in your decisions. You can be soft-spoken and still be relentless. You can be private and still be powerful. Think about the people you admire. Chances are, the most disciplined ones aren't the loudest. They're the ones who stayed in the game when others quit. They didn't need a stage to stay motivated. They didn't seek praise to validate their journey. They stayed humble. They stayed hungry. They stayed quiet. And in the end they won in a way that couldn't be faked. Final thought: you have to make a choice. Do you want to impress people? Or do you want to improve yourself? If you chase attention, you'll constantly be performing. But if you chase mastery, you'll eventually earn the kind of success that needs no introduction. Stay humble, so you never stop growing. Stay hungry, so you never settle. Stay quiet,